Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Non-Toxic Environments. This is your host, Andy Pace. This week, we have Caroline Blazovsky on the show. And Caroline is, first of all, she's a friend of mine. I've known her for many years now. Just a wonderful person and a wealth of information. Caroline has over 20 years experience with specialized training in residential homes. She is a certified microbial remediator and a certified indoor environmentalist. Caroline has completed a sustainable design education from Boston Architectural College. Her work has been featured by Martha Stewart, Jenny McCarthy. She's been on SiriusXM. She does plenty of things, both audio and video. And this month, later on this month, Caroline is hosting what's called the My Healthy Home Online Summit, and I am thrilled to be a part of it. She asked me to be a speaker. I said yes immediately. I'm really looking forward to this being put out there. She's got over 40 awesome speakers, all types of speakers ranging from air quality to water quality to health of the occupant. It's all about the indoor environment, and Caroline is the perfect person to put this together. I wanted to have her on the show today to talk about her experiences and talk about the summit itself, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the conversation. Like I said, she and I have known each other for a while, and so it's always nice to get together and talk, and we just have a nice, friendly conversation. So here's Caroline.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I don't know.
Yes.
I like that you're interviewing me. I don't have to do anything. He's got all the work, everyone.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's interview each other. We can just go back and forth like,
Like a talk show, like a radio
talk
show. I love
right.
that. Let's do
Yeah.
radio.
Like point counterpoint from SNL from years ago.
I love.
So anyway, we have known each other for many years, and we've shared stories. We've shared some clients, but quite honestly, whenever I get stumped on specifically, I always lean on you when I have a client that really has some serious HVAC issues going on, because you can ask 100 people and get 100 different answers, right? And I just rather go to the one who I know will have the correct one. So, okay. So for those of you who don't know you, please introduce yourself and let everybody know what you do.
Well, I lean on you too. So I just want to say, when I'm looking for product and I need somebody who I say, go to Andy, and I give them your name and number, because they'll get to me and I'm like, look, he knows everything about products. Just go find him. So I do that too. But I'm a healthy home expert. I am the CEO of My Healthy Home. And of course, we are promoting, I like to promote right now, our summit that we can kind of talk. And Andy is a speaker at the event too. It's 42 speakers from across the world who I feel, after being in this field for 24 years, are the best of the best and have the best message. It doesn't mean there aren't other people out there doing good things, but I feel with my experience that these were the folks that really are game changers, right?
And really, that's the big issue nowadays. And I just had a client in the showroom just a few moments ago, and she said, I've been doing research on this myself. And we all know what research typically means, which is you go online and you're go on to Google and you're trying to find all the information you can, but you get inundated with the marketing and the greenwashing from the manufacturers and the vendors. Sometimes you don't even know it's them. They pay bloggers to write good stories about them. And so it's really difficult to get completely, unbiased, unaltered information. And so I am sure you have plenty of those folks who come to you and say, I've been looking at this for a year and I just can't make heads or tails out of it.
Yeah. And also, I think the problem that I have is when you are actually telling them the truth, because there are some truths in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
And when you tell them the truth, they don't even want to believe you, or they're like, well, my doctor told me this, or I had someone tell me this. And it puts us as consultants in a really weird position, because I just say, look, you're kind of going to have to figure this out for yourself. We've made the mistakes, we've learned. And so here's the information, and I let them digest it. And they always usually come back. Like, it just takes them some time to digest it. And maybe they go down a rabbit hole with somebody else. And I just had this happen with a house. I couldn't get to them as fast as they wanted me to get to them. I was busy, right? So I said, look, I'm happy to do this next week. I've got all pumps out. I have no air sampling to be able to do for you. I have no equipment available. And that means I'm real busy. Like if there's no equipment, like if you have no
Right.
product, it's
Right.
it means you're busy. So, but I tried to explain, just wait, just take a minute, and you're not going to die in this moment. I said, if I felt like you were, we would make arrangements, but let's just give it a day or two. Let me take some time to even digest everything that we're talking about, and then I'll get back to you. And they went and immediately started looking at other inspectors and hiring 30 inspectors, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But then they went down the rabbit hole with people who weren't qualified or didn't have the experience. And then now we're back. Now they're back here, and
Right.
we went backwards. So sometimes you just have to calm yourself, because we're also worried it's our health. And I get like that too. When I'm sick, I don't know about you, but you get worked up, you get oh my God, I'm going to die, if something's wrong. And you just have to calm, and then make the best decisions.
Well, then
If
it's
that makes
the,
any sense.
yeah, it's the, well, I was listening to this show or I was reading this, whatever, and they come back to me and they say, why shouldn't we do this, there's this? Why can't we do this or that? I can't tell you how many times in my 30 plus year career, I've actually had to turn people away, not because I don't want to work with them, but because no matter what I say or do, it's not going to satisfy um, the answer they're trying to achieve or what they want me to say.
So give
Sometimes
me an
they're
example. I want an example.
examples. Okay, so um, quite often, and I say this quite often, and I actually really mean this, people will go to a mold inspector, not necessarily one that's necessarily of good quality or good reputation, but whoever their insurance company put them up with,
Right, right.
and they'll say, "Well, they're telling me you got to do this, this, and this," and I've done research. They'll say to me, and I think I can do it this way or that way, but I want to know if my insurance or my remodeling contractor or remediation contractor is just give me bad information. And quite often I will say, actually, no, in this situation, they're exactly telling you the right thing. And that they don't like this because homeowners want to, I think everybody wants to, uh, to be, I guess, not convinced, but they want that secondary opinion from a professional that tells them that they're right, whether we're actually right or not. They just want somebody to tell them they're right. And I've turned down more business in the last 15, 20 years than I probably should have. But honestly, for me, I didn't want to, you know, take a fee from somebody who is just looking for the answer that they want, not the answer that they need.
Yeah, that's huge. But you and I can do that. So
Yeah.
what's cool about our jobs and people who are watching this, we don't have to really answer to anyone. I don't. And I'm saying I don't have to carry a product. I
Right.
want to carry a product.
Right.
You're in the same position. And that is a very big difference when you're in the home improvement industry, because there's a lot of people who have to represent a company, or they have to
Mm.
represent somebody, or they've got a mouth to feed, and and we all have mouth to feed, but it's different when somebody else is writing your check. So we
Yes.
are in a luxury to just bring you the best information. And if your heart's good, like I know mine is, and I know Andy's is, we really don't want to do harm. We really want to make things better. And that doesn't mean we don't make mistakes, because we make mistakes all the
Sure.
time, or we learn. I mean, in 25 years, I've learned a lot. Um, and also the industry's changing.
Right.
So the information that we know today may not be what's relevant tomorrow. However, it seems in our industry that we sort of grow on things. I don't think we knew mold was bad. We didn't understand it to the degree we understand it now, but we knew it was bad. So I think we just get more savvy about what's happening, but you and I really don't have to answer to a higher
No, you're
power.
exactly right. And I think that's what I really love about the summit that you put together, and the fact that so many of these speakers are uh, they are either self-employed, they are industry professionals. They're not necessarily representing a company. They are representing themselves and their knowledge and sharing that with everybody. It's vastly different than going to a trade show where you're just walking around the booth and everybody's pitching you with why their product is green or healthy, or even they don't even understand the difference between the two. And it's very easy to get caught up in the, oh, well, I understand that. I like that. I want that in my house. But then stop at that point, kind of stick your head in the sand and say, okay, I've done enough. Where these folks, these professionals that you have speaking, they're speaking about what they honestly know, whether they're talking about a product that they sell or represent, or are just familiar with. They really want the best for the listener.
Yeah. And even and there are people represented like Dave Jones from Bro Newtone, Nikki Kruger from Santa Fe. These are people who also work in what I call corporate America, right? So, and they've got, when someone comes down, they've got a boss. But even with that being said, the people that we pick, they're special individuals, and that's why they're there, because they're actually trying to make a difference, even in that corporate sector, which is hard to do when you have, I call bean counters coming down on you, and they don't really care about your product. They care about the money and the revenue, and that makes things challenging. But these people are fighting the fight regardless, and that's why they're there. So it's cool, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's just a great group of speakers. I myself am really looking forward to listening to all of the events, to the seminars. And so this is starting in April, right? The third, fourth week in April?
Earth Week. So
Earth
it's
Week.
nice. Yeah. So it starts Earth Day, which is the 22nd, and we go through the 28th. And this is open to everyone. So whether you're a professional, you want to learn how to get well, you want to learn about Alzheimer's disease, you want to learn about cancer, you want to learn about mental health and how our homes affect us, wellness, getting healthy, building a house, building performance. I mean, we covered it all. So like, you're going to learn something. And even like people like myself and Andy, it's mind blowing what you learn. I mean, I'm blown away, and I learned, it made me such a better consultant. Like that was the takeaway. Like I thought, oh, this is going to be so hard, and we're going to get everyone together, and it's going to be so hard. And I'm not a great interviewer like you are. You are like behind the mic all the time, and I'm not. So like, I excuse anyone at the summit if they think I don't do a good job on the because it's not my forte. But it's not about that. If you listen to the content, you're going to just be mind blown.
Well, I will say my interview style is essentially as if you and I were just sitting across from a table, having a drink and just discussing how was your day today and who did you talk to? Because honestly, it's just for those of us who have been in this for a long time, as we have, sometimes it just helps to commiserate a little bit and to understand that we're not in this alone. We're in this together, in the fact that it's an enormous world and there's a lot of customers that need help. And I know there's probably no situation I've ever been in that you haven't already been in. And so it really helps to when somebody else understands what I'm talking about.
I had an interesting call today. So it was somebody who saw the summit, and they called me, and they're in the field with us. So, but we had never spoken. I'd never met them. And we were talking about silica dust, construction dust. And they were saying like, what's your take on, I've got a silica dust issue with a client or someone I know. And then we got into talking about lawsuits, and we started talking about going down this rabbit hole of lawsuits and what happens. And I was really trying to encourage not doing that. And for many reasons, like when you're going into these lawsuit situations, and I've been an expert witness for years, it is so challenging, not from that you're telling the truth or that the story isn't real or that you're sick and all of that. What's frustrating is the court system is not really designed, in my opinion, to do what's just. It's to represent really who has the bigger pocket at the end of the day. And homeowners don't have big pockets, typically. And they end up being told like, oh, well, you could pursue this in the court of law. And they end up using up all their resources, their money, their time, and their life goes to hell, and they end up getting divorced, and they're fighting with their husband, and on and on and on. And so what I try to encourage people is really try to seek out some professionals that do know about what could be potentially happening in your home, and see if you can always fix the problem first before you just jump to legal. Like, do you get calls like that? I get calls all the time. Like, I'm getting an attorney and I really need some information about what I'm doing. And I try to really dissuade them from going that avenue. Do you ever, I'm sure you get that.
I get it. I've gotten it twice with crystalline silica. silica dust, actually caused by cutting stone in the backyard, putting in a patio and the windows are open. And those were just nightmare projects. And, it just seems like, to your point, the legal industry is just that. It's like, how can we make money off of somebody else's misery? I'll be honest with you. That's one of the reasons why for many, many years, I never even promoted what I do. Maybe it's me, maybe it's a mental thing, but I started this company in 92, 93, selling common sense, healthy building materials. And I would have, hundreds of chemically sensitive clients within my first, few months of starting the business. And many of them would say, you need to advertise, you need to get into the, My Canary newsletter, and you need to get into all these
Oh my
different,
gosh.
news groups. And I said, I just have a hard time marketing my goods and services to a group of people that have already been dealt a bad hand in life. It makes me feel like I'm trying to profiteer from their misery. And so for many, many years, I did not advertise at all. I was just word of mouth. And it took me a long time to finally understand that if I do it correctly, it's not looking like I'm some ambulance chasing lawyer looking for a payday. But honestly, right now with mold and bacteria, this is what it's kind of turning into now. I get this quite often as people calling up saying, I bought this house and I had a home inspection done. Nobody, the home inspector didn't find it. The realtors didn't share anything. The seller didn't share anything about previous mold damage. And now we're hundreds of thousands of dollars into rebuilding the home because of massive mold exposure and mold damage. And it's just inevitable that the courts will be just jammed up with cases about this.
And this is where it comes back to, I don't know how many people on here are homeowners, but it is your responsibility to do the due diligence. And when I say to you, do not buy a home without a home inspection, a mold test, a water test, you are crazy if you do.
Right.
I don't care what the economy in real estate is telling you. And if the real estate agent says you're going to miss this house, then miss it.
Then so
Because
be it. Right.
you cannot buy a home sight unseen, no inspections. I mean, this is happening. This is what keeps me in business. Every week, somebody's telling me, I bought my house. Did you do inspections? Did you do radon? Did you do lead? Did you do what? No, I didn't do anything. Well,
Exactly.
then it's buyer beware. And then it's on you as a consumer. And I don't mean to be mean, but you've got people out there like us telling you, don't make these mistakes. I understand we're all desperate to get houses. I've been looking for a house for a long time, but I will not buy a house without doing a mold inspection. Like, it's not happening.
I had Kendra Seymour on from Change the Air Foundation
Oh, yeah.
last week.
Mhm.
And her kids got sick, developed pandas from mold, and essentially, some of the areas that they found were when the home went up for sale. Of course, the realtor said, "Well, you should really, repaint these areas to make it look nice and fresh," and it covers up all the water stains, and they wonder why everybody in the house starts getting sick. I mean, to your point, building in a building inspection is enormously important, but almost just as important as that, if not more important, is to make sure that inspector has proper training on what to look for and how to test for these other issues. Because a lot of home inspectors, they're looking for the obvious things.
Yeah.
They're looking for the mechanicals and the electric and making sure that, the siding is installed properly on the outside. But when it comes to, searching for mold or water damage, bacterial issues, a lot of them just don't have that knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is I write a contract when I purchase a home very differently. I worry less about the home inspection. I mean, most of the time I'm doing my inspection anyway, so it doesn't matter, but there's got to be an environmental clause in your contract. And that has to say, you're not buying the house without mold testing and water testing. And it has to specifically say that even if the test comes back that it's okay regarding the parameters, so let's put it this way. There's parameters that say a house is okay, but then there's what my parameters, right? Or laboratory parameters. And you need to be safe. So basically you need to put in the contract that environmental inspections have to be okay with you. because there might be some mold there. There may be one spore of Stachybotrys and the lab report's going to say it's okay, but we know it's not okay.
Right.
So just make sure you've got some parameters built in with your lawyer in your contract for those things. And water has to be done. I don't care where you live. And then mold has to be done, and any other environmental toxins and different things that you want to test for, then you can put that in there too. But that's how I do it.
And that's a great way to do it. You know, in today's climate, real estate climate, there are fewer homes on the market. There are, I think the amount of buyers are starting to subside a bit because they understand the higher interest rates. But you know, that's going to change because the interest rates will start to come down again, and that's going to spur a whole new group of buyers. How do you, if you were talking to a realtor, how would you convince them to stop telling their customers to waive inspections?
I've dealt with so many of them. I think mostly you've got to show them the problems. Like realtors they've never been trained in this. So the realtors that I've worked with, like personally, I'm talking like I've gone out looking for homes. I've taught my realtors so much because they see me actually like looking at homes and going, I got OSB, I've got MDF here, I've got a leak here, I've got radon here, and just in one inspection. So I think it blows their mind. And then they go, wait, I need to learn some of this. So I think they're open to it. It's just a matter of they just have never been educated on it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the part that's challenging because we rely on realtors for so much, and a lot of them don't really have any building knowledge at all. And when you're looking at the house, by the time you're into the process, before you're even getting your home inspector, you've already kind of committed to the house. Maybe you've signed a contract. You know, all these things happen before you even do your inspections. At least here, I mean, every state's kind of different, but in the Northeast, you've signed all your paperwork and then the inspections get done, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and then as a consumer, you really have to temper your emotions, because you know it's like going into to buy a car, and if you go into a car dealership and you're smiling from ear to ear because you love this car.
Oh God, don't send me in. That's it. I'm like, I got a problem with cars. Like I see like a nice little convertible and I'm like,
yeah. And then they ask you, well, how much can you
sucker.
pay per month? Okay,
Yeah.
sucker, we got her. Yeah, but as homeowners, you know, you've been looking forever, trying to find a home, trying to find the location, trying to find the school system, whatever the case is, and then you find something. You still have to pull yourself back, reel yourself in a bit to say, this is just the beginning. Now we've found something that we might be able to move forward on. All these other things have to happen first, and before we should kind of get excited about it.
Oh my gosh. I don't get excited about houses because I see all the problems.
Oh,
So
I know.
like my significant other hates me because I like look at a house and I'm like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong.
Mhm.
I can't get out of that like frame of mind. It's terrible. Like a house to me is not, I think that's why I like cars because I know
Yeah,
nothing about mechanics. So I
yeah.
just like look at it. I think it's beautiful. I'm like,
Right.
oh, what? It's breaking down every mile. I don't care. It's so funny. I just take myself out of my genre of looking at things because I'm back to that beauty again.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Right?
So I like going through the parades, the home parades, you know,
Yeah.
all the new houses. My wife loves coming with me to these. She loves looking at houses, but you know, we're looking at different things. You know, I'll walk into a home. I walked into the home of the state of Wisconsin's largest green home builder. I walked in there into their model house last year, and the very first thing I noticed was the strong smell of mold.
I'm sorry, I
Brand
can't laugh.
new, green, eco-friendly home.
I'm not laughing because, so your audience knows, I'm not laughing because mold portion of it. I'm laughing because I know like the building that's going on
Yeah.
right now. It's just so
And
horrible.
so I look at the three salespeople that are staring me, you know, at in the face walking in, and you know, they wanted to show me around. I go, don't worry, I'm just gonna take my time looking around. I instantly went down to the basement, go to that corner of the house where I smelled the mold, and there up above, there's all the stains. And then I walked outside and I see, well, there's a downspout right here. I bet you they forgot to attach that, and probably during the summer rainy season, it all washed down right there. But this is the very first thing you smell when you walk into this house, and they
Oh,
obviously didn't actually fix the problem. They tried to just cover it up. It's This happens on so many projects now. Um, Now it's inevitable. Like you said, we're all human. We all make mistakes. I'm working with a client and it turns out that maybe we need to adjust our trajectory of doing things because of whatever happened in the situation. Or maybe we just, we tried something, didn't work. All right, we got to try something different. But the building industry has been at this for a very, very long time. It's like that definition of insanity. You're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting better results. They're not getting better results.
We're going worse. Like,
Yes.
I mean, am I the only person that thinks this? I look at the building construction. I was just on a new build lot, a development that was going in. I just shook my head and said, how can we just be getting worse? Like I don't know. Everybody keeps saying we're improving. I don't see that. I mean, everything's engineered. I mean, this is the whole point of the summit, right? We're talking about a summit. We're talking about products. We're talking about what we're using. We're talking about, to me, everything has gotten cheap, fast, junk that isn't going to be here in 2 years. I can look at these beautiful, I call them like, the traditional developments, like they call it the new farmhouse, but yet it's like all OSB and it's it's got like cheap vinyl. And like, I look at it and go, this is not going to be standing in 3 years. These people are going to have all kinds of problems.
Yeah. And so when I first
quality, the quality is so cheap. I mean,
it
it's
is.
really
Well, they're chasing price points. They're chasing customers by saying we can build a house for X amount per square foot. And the average person uses that as kind of like the entry point of, okay, well, they're in my budget. What does that include? I had a client just yesterday sent me the spec sheets on the new home they're looking at by this supposedly a green home builder down in Texas, and they're using styrofoam sheathing on the house. And yeah, your facial expression nailed it for me. I'm like, oh, from an energy efficiency standpoint, if you're looking at just that, that's fantastic. Get a gust of wind and then talk to me afterwards and see what you think. And so, but these builders they're chasing the price point. They're chasing the energy ratings. A lot of them will be doing like these certified green homes from a standpoint of, a point system for how energy efficient they are and the blower door tests and all that stuff. At the end of the day, who cares about any of that if the home itself is literally poisoning the occupants?
You couldn't have said it any better. I don't understand. I can't wrap my hands around why we are so focused on energy efficiency. I get it. I understand why we want a low carbon footprint. I do get this. Mm-hmm. But at what cost?
At what cost? 100%.
And when you tell me that you're going to ventilate, okay, we're going to tighten the building envelope. I'm okay with that. Everyone's going to hate me for saying this. We're going to tighten the building envelope. We're going to bring in mechanical ventilation now.
Yep.
What is the cost of us using all this mechanical ventilation from a health standpoint? We're running air through all kinds of mechanical components that have, all kinds of petroleum products, oils, everything else as it goes through this machinery and then comes into our home. That's the first thing. Secondly, nobody can seem to tell me what is the magic number that someone's going to feel good in this house. So if it's some people are going to feel good at this level of air exchange, some people are going to feel good over here, but you don't know until the occupants get in there and then it's too late.
So I've been saying this my entire career, and tell me what you think of this. In the mid-90s, when VOCs were regulated because of outdoor air pollution, by the way, it has nothing to do with human health. They're still only regulated because of outdoor air pollution, nothing to do with direct human contact or human health. Yes, it's true some VOCs are dangerous for humans. It's also true that some are completely harmless. All right, that all said, I remember being on the board of the Green Building Institute. And I actually resigned from the board under protest because I told them that their sole purpose of existing is just to exist. Basically, they just wanted to give themselves something to do. But I said, here's why. Yeah.
Someone's laughing. I think someone's giving you a laugh emoji. That's hilarious.
I will.
Madeline.
It was one of my finer moments of my career. Um, and I'm still proud of it to this day because it honestly, it taught me that I can be my own person. Getting back to what we originally talked about, I didn't have to answer to anybody. I could just be my own person and say what I wanted to say. But it meant something. It meant that these green building checklists have nothing to do with the health of the occupants. So why does the industry push this so hard? Well, they push it so hard for a couple of reasons. At the outset of all this had to do with regulations by the EPA on how products can be manufactured and sold in this country. How do you get those products manufactured and how do you get those products sold if, for the most part, the country really doesn't care about that stuff. They really care about the health of the occupant. You start to market this stuff as being friendlier to the occupant, even though it's not. You kind of allude to it. You never come out and actually say it's healthier for the occupants. You say it's better for the environment, it's air friendly, all these buzzwords that make us think that we're doing the right thing. And then the builders get involved and they say, well, we only have these products to work with, these eco-friendly products. We understand they don't work as well as they used to. So we need to be able to market our green, energy efficient homes so people will buy them so we could use these products. I mean, it's this whole cycle of just we're manufacturing garbage and building with garbage, and the homeowners still aren't living in healthy homes. This all started in the 70s. I mean, with the oil embargo of OPEC back in the early 70s, buildings were built tighter, more energy efficient. And then throughout the 70s and 80s, this huge building boom, and it's all about cheaper, faster, lighter technology, all this stuff. And those 80s homes are just, falling down into pieces because they're built so poorly. And we're at it again because we're chasing these energy efficient things. I have no problem with energy efficiency. We all enjoy energy efficiency because it means, cheaper cost to heat and cool our homes. We all would love to say we are living in a home that isn't actually harming the environment. Nobody wants to harm the environment. On the other hand, at what cost? So if we're saving the environment but poisoning the human occupants of the environment, it's kind of missing the point.
And I think too, when you actually go the way we're going to go, right? We're going a healthy home first. The trickle down effect of that is that you do help the environment. So
Yes.
that's what's kind of cool, right? It's like when you do the summit, you realize, wait a minute, like all these changes we're encouraging people to make are really going to impact the environment. And that's why we chose to do the summit on Earth Week. There was a reason for that. It was all predicated on the fact that we're going to help the planet. We're going to make these changes and we're going to help it by doing it through our home. And then we're also going to improve our health at the same time. So like
With, without a doubt,
win-win.
if it's friendly for humans, it's friendly for the environment. But the opposite is not true. Just because something's friendly to the environment does not mean it's friendly to humans. Because,
That's
and
right.
here's really what it comes down to is the environment can't sue. Let's go back to the money issue. The environment's not going to sue you because you used a high VOC paint. Humans can sue. And so manufacturers and contractors as a whole have taken this really sort of hands-off approach to this because they're afraid what happens if we come up with a product that's marketed as being truly toxin-free. And I'll give you an example. How many years ago now the fiberglass insulation industry started making fiberglass insulation formaldehyde-free? 10 years, 12 years ago, I think Johns Manville was the first company to do this. They came out with these full page ads saying that we've got this brand new product, a new binder, no formaldehyde. About, I don't know, a month later, they had to take out more ads and trade publications to do damage control, not because of people were complaining that it's formaldehyde free. That was great. People were complaining that I just bought your product a week ago and you're telling me that's toxic. So if you get a manufacturer or a contractor that today says we are building healthy homes, then the 1,000 homes they built in the last 10 years, then by definition would be considered unhealthy. Humans can sue. The environment can't. They can come out today and say, we are zero VOC and we're energy efficient because who's going to point out the fact that last week they weren't?
But I have to say that a lot of the things that And that's why older homes tend to be better, is that a lot of the stuff that or the complications that you end up with in a new build do dissipate over time. I mean, most of the stuff, if you're using things that volatile organics that are less semi-volatile, right?
Mm-hmm.
So time will sort of correct some of the things that we're addressing. And that's a good thing. However, then you get these forever chemicals that we're talking about now, and we've got newer ones, we're learning about the PFASs of the world. And then, but then we've got things like lead and asbestos and things that don't go away, that continue over time to be a problem.
Well, and then you have the problems that happen with mold and bacteria over time because of shoddy materials being used in the construction process, or just bad installation processes. I mean, you're all right. Inside of a home, in a brand new home, it was estimated many years ago there's between 12 and 15,000 chemicals in the air just from the building process. It's also been estimated that's between 300 and 500 gallons of water in the air from the building process, the concrete, the drywall, the mud, the paints, and so forth. So in the first 2.5 to 4.5 years, most of those VOCs that come from things like paints and coatings, things that cure on site, those are done. 2.5 to 4.5 years, they're completely done. The VOCs that come from, for instance, like formaldehyde, which is not necessarily classified or regulated as a VOC, that can actually come off of particle board and plywood for 30 plus years, or carpeting for 30 plus years. And so this is one of those things we look at, in building a home, is it's eliminating that. But it's that mark of, at the 10-year mark, if you don't see signs, like specific signs that there was a water damage situation under a window or because of flashing or whatever, there could be mold happening because of just bad installation of the tile backer in the master shower. And this is about when they start to show themselves. And so I know I'll tell my clients the sweet spot in buying a home that's on the market is between 5 and 10 years old. That is the perfect sweet spot. After the biggest amount of VOCs have dissipated, before the mold problems could start to occur, provided that they weren't convinced to repaint everything to make it look nice for the open house.
You just brought up a whole bunch of different topics that I want to talk about really quick.
Okay, very good.
One is that with any home that you have, okay, I can guarantee you're having a water problem. 99% of all homes, I mean, dishwashers, refrigerators, sinks, washing machines, you're getting a leak.
True.
You cannot fight water problems. They're happening whether it's from the exterior of the envelope or interior, okay? The thing is, one, make sure your insurance, and when you're dealing with homeowners insurance, you have a rider on your policy that talks about mold. No, you are not covered. Everybody thinks they have a homeowner's policy. They're going to be covered for the right amount of money on a rebuild, and they're going to be covered for mold and mildew, water damage, wind damage, whatever. You don't. So you need to make sure your policy is adequate to cover if you have a major structural issue, that the amount that they're going to reimburse you is going to cover you to rebuild in the way you want to. And then also to make sure that you have water damage and mold protection. Okay. And that's just a rider. Like I paid, I think it's like $78 extra a month, and I have about $30,000 extra in a rider on my policy. So you just want to make sure anyone can do that. Call up your insurance company and ask them. There was something else something struck me when you said we were talking about, I forgot my point, but, insurance companies. Let's talk about that. They have put in for certain states. Now I live right outside of New York and New Jersey, 25% increase on homeowners policies going into effect. Whoa. 25% increase.
For what? Just because of the cost of doing business these days.
It's the storms. Yeah. It's global warming. Whether you guys believe it or not, we have influx of water. I mean, we had a storm in the metro area that was 4 inches of rain in, 8 hours, 12 hours. I mean, this is like, so Florida, people always thought, we move to Florida, low taxes. But if you go to Florida and you try to have a home in Florida, it's very expensive because of your homeowners. And then of course, flood insurance and all of the insurance because you're in a hurricane, space.
Well, and then the extra cost of building the home in a manner that won't just lead to a mold problem in just a few years.
Yep. So now here we are in New York, New Jersey metro area, 25% increase. I just got it in the mail.
So I had our blank on from Shield Your Body a month or two ago, and I asked him about EMF issues, specifically about like 5G and so forth. And I loved his response on this because he said, listen, it's going to be there. You know, let's just not pretend that we can just avoid it completely. It's going to be there. It's part of life now. All we can do is just moving forward. Let's just be a little smarter about how we use it in our own space, on our own person. Certainly if you need to do certain things to block it in certain rooms of your house, that's one thing. But like what you just said about climate change. Yeah, we all see this. We all see that the climate is changing. I'm here in Wisconsin. My gosh, we go from having 70 degrees one day to 6 inches of snow the next day. It's unbelievable. But I'm just going to assume from this point forward, this is kind of going to be the way it is. So instead of just talking about certain things that we may or may not be able to do to help the earth in 1,000 years, maybe let's just make our homes a little more protected against that moisture.
Oh yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I just put on
So
a brand new roof and I went in with 6-inch gutters,
there you
right?
go.
Because it's happening. It's going to get worse. And I felt so relieved. Like I just looked like sat in my house and listened to the rain hit. And I'm like, yeah.
So anybody's ever been through water damage in their home and you hear that tick, 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 that dripping of water. I mean, seriously, this happened to my house 15 years ago. I had water pouring through a recessed ceiling can in my kitchen. That sound to me, if I hear like 2 drops of water from a half a mile away, I'm instantly, having
Palpitation.
exactly,
I get
exactly.
all worked out.
Oh, it's just a horrible feeling. But to your point, 6-inch gutters, in new home construction, so often you'll get the architect or a designer saying, oh, but it's just not going to look as good. It's more clean line if we just do 4-inch gutters or 5-inch gutters. Is it going to work? Is it going to be effective? Why even do it? So, find ways, make ways that water can be collected and then moved away from the home. Uh, these are very simple things that we can do. Understanding that, let's say 15, 20 years down the road, and we have weather patterns shifting again where we don't get as much rain. How is it going to hurt us to have 6-inch gutters? It's not. It's only going to help.
And it's not expensive.
No.
I mean, it's, I'm talking like everything's expensive today, but in relative speaking to everything you could possibly do to a home, like if you do a kitchen reno and you're talking about $150,000 kitchen, putting on, $2,500 in gutters is not a big deal. You know what I
No.
mean?
And so one of the things that I'm right on this topic is, and I'd like to talk to you about this because you're my expert. I do a lot of projects down south, a lot of projects in Texas, and the homes in Texas are built. Most of them are built slab on grade, with your HVAC up in the attic, and that just gives me shivers. Unless it's a completely conditioned, enclosed, insulated, unless your attic is essentially just the second floor of your house, putting your HVAC up in the attic is a very, very bad idea. But I also see this happening now throughout the country because more people are looking at doing slab on grade instead of a basement or a crawl space. I hate crawl spaces because of the problems, but I don't know. Give me your thoughts on this because it's got to be for you. You must see this often too.
Slabs, I'm not a proponent of slabs, especially if you have 4 seasons. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a disaster. And that's
Mhm.
because you get that cold, and your audience probably knows this, but think about it. Your concrete's real cold coming out of the winter, and then you get a hot day. And what happens when you put a cold glass out in a hot day? You think about that beer, your iced tea, lemonade, cold glass, you get all that condensation around the glass. That's what's happening when you're on a slab in these climates. So I hate slabs in these climates. And I also see lots of clients who have chemical sensitivity and allergies when they're living in conditions like split levels or bi-levels where they're partially below grade, but then they have a walkout basement because there's too much differential in temperature. So we see a lot of people have health issues in these structures. I can't tell you exactly why, but I think it has to do with the fact that the dust mites are high, the mold is high, the radon is high in conjunction with living in these spaces. So radon's another thing you have to worry about. Radon, and we're talking about the summit, which is so interesting. Everybody's got radon. I mean, even when you're have a mitigation system in, I just did a house 2 days ago. Mitigation system, fans on the interior. They're still running 6 picocuries. They just assumed they were safe. Never did a follow-up. They bought the house and never checked to see what was happening. And, radon is always there. You need a continuous monitor with radon. Go on our website and get one, $130, and you need to monitor this. It is like one of the biggest carcinogens, and you are never really safe. You make any changes to your ductwork, your HVAC, and you start pulling from that ground, even when you have a mitigation system pulling it out, you can still pull and still end up with a problem. So, and radon is like, we think it's overplayed, but it's so under investigated, and people think they're safe and they're not.
Well, it's a colorless, odorless, completely invisible gas that nobody notices. It doesn't give any acute issues because it's a carcinogen over a period of time, second leading cause of lung cancer.
I'll beg to differ on that.
Yeah.
I see clients that have health issues. Now, granted, they've been up in the higher ranges of the picocuries. Like you're supposed to be 4 under picocurie, but in reality, you're only supposed to be 2. But the government set this range. They set a lot of these standards so we can sort of meet the parameters, not because it's really the most healthy choice. It's because it's more accessible to access and gain. So just remember that, like, whatever you're looking at is always relative to what the number was and who put it forth and how the government came up with that number. But regardless of radon, I've had a lot of clients who had these like strange issues. I had a woman who had she was at 60 picocuries coming out of her shower in the bathroom, which is a lot. Okay. We've seen in some buildings, we've seen 10,000.
Oh my.
So when you're talking about, and we're saying 2 picocuries can cause cancer, there's people who have 10,000, there's people who have 60. So I had this woman that she came to us and she had all these weird symptoms and they thought she had mold and they thought she had all these exposures. And I couldn't find anything. And I'm like, this is really weird. I said, well, we're going to run water testing. So I did all the water testing. Come to find out, I always do radiologicals in water. And there's a lot of things. Like you have gross alpha and beta particles, you have uranium, you have a lot of radioactive materials that you just will lower your immune system. It'll make you feel terrible. Same with cell phones. I mean, it's radiation, non-ionizing or ionizing radiation basically drops your immunity. So she was having all these symptoms. And I came back with it in the water test. Now it's not in the water per se, it's in the rock around the water, but it uses the water as a pathway to come out through your shower. So if you have a well, for example, the radon gets into the well, it's a gas. So it basically follows up these pipes wherever it can find access in. It's nature. It's coming out of the ground. It's going to come up into your space. So she was showering in the space with 60 picocuries of radon every day, and she didn't feel well, and we fixed it, and her symptoms completely resolved.
Wow. So let me ask you then, how long did it take her to notice symptoms and what type of symptoms did she have?
I can't remember because it was a while ago. I can't remember why she was having immune, like she was always sick and she never felt well. And she was like, I think she had chronic infections and just all kinds of autoimmune crazy stuff going on. So I don't remember how long she was in that house for. I don't remember her being like, I just moved in and then she got sick. I think she had been there for a while. That's not going to affect you, super quick, but it was causing chronic symptoms.
Unbelievable. And this kind of goes to the point that I like to make, which is when you move into a new home, a lot of times, and it could be in a new existing home, of course, the whole family feels like they're coming down with a cold or the flu, and it's usually chalked up to, well, it's been a stressful time, the move was difficult, it's just different sleeping patterns and so forth. A lot of times it's just the house. It's the house telling you there's something wrong, and you need to listen to your body and listen to those symptoms and have something done about it.
There's so much, like during the summit, and it's going to be a mind blow. So we interviewed 3 of the top EMF professionals, talking about electromagnetic fields, wireless, dirty electricity, 5G. It will blow your mind at the summit. I mean, they are incredible, and the information they put forth. What was so interesting was they were talking about a student, one of the speakers was talking about a student who played sports and he got a sports injury. And when they went in, they said he needed a hip replacement. He was only 19 years old. And so when they evaluated him, they're like, why does this kid need a hip replacement? Well, he was putting his cell phone on his hip for how many years? And it basically deteriorated the bone, ate away all the bone in his hip. So when he got he got hurt, they noticed it and they're like, why is this happening? And, because we put these radioactive devices on our bodies, this radiation, like you put it close to your head, You put it on your pocket. Women will put it in the front. The men typically put it in the back, whatever. You cannot be putting these devices like on your person. So
Unbelievable.
bad.
And such a simple fix. Just, don't do it, right? Just take it away.
But they're making it so challenging. Like here in the New York metro area, we don't have landline phones anymore. So
Right.
they took that away from us. So we're forced to do, like myself, I'm forced to do all my business like on cell phones. Like everyone on my team has cell phones. I mean, this is how we communicate. So I'm stuck with this thing constantly.
Right.
And how do we get away from it? And I know that everybody says like do a plug in, but I mean, I'm in the field a lot. I don't have time to like, how am I going to plug in?
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean?
No, I hear that. It's technology is wonderful when it works properly, but we just don't know. I mean, um, we've been existing on this earth for how many thousands and thousands of years, humans have, with just traditional, the electrical polarity and what's coming from radiation coming from the sun. But then just in the last 100 years, with the invention of electricity through power lines and now wireless, humans we may adapt to this. It might take another 10,000 years. Right now, we're in the throes of humans being harmed by this and damaged by this because our bodies just aren't made for this.
No, we were meant to live outside. We were.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. Magda Havas, which was one of our speakers, she talked about how she got into ionizing and non-ionizing radiation. And she originally was studying, I believe it was I think acid rain. And she was a toxicologist. And then she got into she had an experience where they were holding up I forget if it was a fluorescent bulb, it was a light bulb near the power lines, and the bulb ignited. It went, it started to light by
Wow.
itself, standing next to these power trestles. So that just shows you how far this stuff goes out beyond the trestle itself. And then we start talking about all the 5G and everything that we've been, I mean, you got to go to the summit. People are going to
Well,
you're going to blow your mind. It blew my mind. I'm like, oh, that's it. Like,
well, and this is a perfect segue then to wrap this up. Yes, you all have to go to the summit, and I will be
it's
putting
free.
links.
You have no excuse. Like literally, yes, you can purchase the summit if you can't go to it during the days, but from the 22nd of April to the 28th, it is completely free for you to do whatever you want. And there are 7 speakers a day on all kinds of topics. And we basically break down, I think the first day we talk about healthy homes and monitoring, then we talk about building science. The next day we talk about water, EMF. We have the best doctors in cancer, cardiovascular health, Alzheimer's disease, cognitive dysfunction. I mean, it will blow your mind. If you don't get something out of it, then I don't know what to tell you.
And definitely go to the summit, not to listen to me, but
Or
listen
me.
to
Don't
the
listen to me either.
listen to the 41 other experts, because I am looking forward to hearing from them. It's just, and I know a lot of the folks that are speaking, and some of them have been on my show over the past couple of years, and I am really looking forward to hearing, updated information from them. As you said, the industry is changing. It's changing every single day.
So
It's up
fast.
to us to be on top of this stuff so we can offer that information to our clients.
Yeah. It's hard because it's getting bigger and bigger, and everybody keeps introducing more things in that it takes a long time to sort of research these products and to know how they work and operate. I mean, in your industry, I can't even imagine the amount of products that come out every day. And the only way to really is the test of time to know. I mean, we have no governing bodies. We are not protected. We don't have any laws that really look into, what's going into a home. So it's up to people like Andy to figure it out. And it takes time to do that. I mean, you're just starting to figure out products from 20 years ago,
Mhm.
what their effects are. How are you supposed to deal with all this new product?
Yeah, no doubt. And so quite often I'll have somebody call and say, "Have you ever heard of this product?" And I've heard of a lot of products. I've done a lot of research in my life and used a lot of things, but things are coming out so fast. They're being thrown at us so fast. A lot of times people are actually telling me about it, and then I have to say, you know what? I'll have to do some work on this and get back to you, because I don't want to make a rash decision. But some of the stuff, the marketing is just so good that you want to believe it, but then you say, okay, but if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of these startups. I mean, it's true with anything. I mean, I think at a time, and we're both entrepreneurs at a time now that bringing a product to market is coming so quickly. The process, the venture process has become so fast, and these people are launching all kinds of products. I mean, I've seen new MDF board, I've seen all kinds of stuff going on, but again, the test of time. How is that really going to hold up in real life application? It's the same
Sure.
thing with sensors. There's so many sensors out there,
Oh,
like to
geez.
sense different things, and
Yeah.
most of them are garbage, like they're junk. So I am particular about the types of sensors that we use and the technology we use, because you want it to be right. I mean, you don't want to get all these readings and then you're like freaking out and it's not even,
Yeah.
that
That's
good.
certainly not the place to cheapen your purchasing experience and go try to find the best deal you can off of Amazon. Because with things like sensors, it's garbage in, garbage out. You got to trust the information. Boy, you and I could go on forever
Oh my God, we
talking
could
about
talk
these
about
things.
Amazon. You're bringing up Amazon. Have you ever ordered anything? Has anyone had this experience? Like I see something that looks really great on Amazon. I'm like, oh yeah, like it's an impulse buy. I'm not
Mhm.
talking home stuff.
Yep.
And then you purchase it and you get sent this like thing that doesn't even look like what you got or what you ordered. Is anyone else having this experience? And why are we just letting this happen? Like it's
Yeah, the,
complete
the the
garbage.
joke is that what is the website? Wish. There's one called Wish where it's really notorious for that. I mean, you could buy a car off of Wish, and when it comes in, it actually looks like something that your 5-year-old drew at the kitchen table. So
I ordered a bathing suit. I have to say this. Everyone, I'm punchy because the summit's over and like I'm like a kid, like when you take your exams and you're all like, yeah, just so happy. But I ordered a bathing suit. And granted, I got sucked in. It was like on Facebook or and it looked so great. I'm like, oh, this is such a nice bathing suit. And it comes and it was just like pieces of felt. Andy, it was like you and I cut felt. It was a joke. I mean, you couldn't wear it. It was like somebody just cut felt and they sent it to me and it came from like overseas in China
of
somewhere.
course it did. Of course.
Like you held it up and it was literally like you and I took scissors. I mean, and I'm like, and then you can't send it back because you don't know where to send it to. And it costs like $1,000. They're not going to, and then you call them up and they say, oh, well, we'll give you 20% off or 10% off. And I'm like, no, the thing doesn't work. Like it's not a bathing suit.
Right. Yeah, another
What
good
is
reason
that?
to get off of some of that type of social media is because we're just getting inundated with marketing of garbage.
Oh my God, it's such junk.
Yeah. Well, again, we could go on forever, and I'm sure I'll
Thank
have you
you.
back on the show sometime, maybe next season.
Thank you.
Caroline, thank you so much for including me in your summit.
Oh,
It
you were
was,
amazing. You
you
guys,
know,
all of it. And all of the speakers at the summit blew me away. Every time I did an interview, I thought, oh, it can't get any better. And then the next one. So talented. These speakers are the best of the best. We put it together so you know where to go. This is like your resource to just call. If there's something wrong with your home, there's somebody there to take care of it, or your health. So you're covered. Just
fabulous.
call on these
All right,
people.
I'll put links in the show notes, and please share this to all your friends because this is a very, very important summit. You don't want to miss it. It's free, and I guarantee you will learn a lot. I will learn a lot listening to this summit. So, Caroline, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Well,
take care, everyone.
see ya.
Bye-bye.